Hello and thank you for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Mackailyn Johnson. Here's a look at the stories we're bringing you this afternoon. Now at noon, updates in a homicide and an arrest that needed the SWAT team. We'll get you the latest details in 2 minutes. Plus, Election Day is less than 50 days away, where you can get registered to vote today and other important deadlines you may need. And later, lawyers for the government and former President Trump will be in court this afternoon. What to expect in their first meeting with the special master. But first, let's check in with meteorologist Nathan Scott. Nathan, fall is literally only 2 days away.
So close.
So close. Why are we almost in the 100-degree mark?
Well, there's two reasons for that, Mackailyn. We've got very dry ground in place, so that just soaks up all that heat, and also a heat dome building across the mid and deep south. Look at these temperatures already. It's only noon, and we've soared to 96 in the capital city. Everybody has warmed up into the low to mid 90s with not too much of the form of cloud cover out there. We will see the highs, I think, top out around 100 degrees. Also, still on the humid side, these dew points are to the upper 60s to lower 70s across the region. So here's what it feels like. It feels like 99, Little Rock feels like 97 in Stuttgart, feels like 98 in Russellville, and also same story in Arkadelphia. A little bit of a breeze out there that somewhat cuts the edge off the heat, but it is going to be a torrid Tuesday. We are baking out there this afternoon as temperatures soar up to the century mark. Getting pretty close to the record high, which is 102 set back in 2005. There is a cold front headed in our direction. And I'll have more on that front, which arrives on Thursday, coming up.
Thanks, Nathan. And a THV 11 update, we're learning more about the arrest made last night after an hours-long SWAT standoff that saw tear gas and explosions last night. Police say they arrested 35-year-old Zachary Moran after he tried to rob Heartland RX Pharmacy in West Little Rock. Police were there to serve a warrant when they say Moran barricaded himself inside the home. He is facing charges for aggravated robbery and property theft. We will continue to follow this story for any new developments. And Pulaski County authorities are investigating a shooting that left one person dead on the 10,000 block of Dobby Drive in Little Rock. Authorities arrived to find the body of a man inside a vehicle there. Few details are being released right now, but THV 11 will keep following this developing story and bring you the latest when we learn more. An executive, with the vegan food company Beyond Meat was arrested in Fayetteville after allegedly biting someone after Saturday's hog game. University police arrested Beyond Meat Chief Operations Officer Doug Ramsey outside of Saturday's Razorback game. According to police records, Ramsey attacked a man who he believed was driving too close to his vehicle in a parking garage. Investigators say witnesses reported Ramsey punching through the driver's windshield before hitting him and biting his nose. Washington County jail records show he's charged with terroristic threatening and third-degree battery. He was released from custody Sunday morning. Happening today, efforts to get people registered to vote. It comes with less than 50 days until Election Day in November, but early voting starts earlier than that. 9 voter registration pop-up sites open today in the county. Volunteers and staff from different organizations will be registering eligible Arkansans to vote ahead of the midterm election. Here are some important dates to keep in mind ahead of that. If you're not registered to vote, you have until October 11th. After that, early voting in the state begins on October 24th. Which all leads up to Election Day on November 8th. Now, if you're wanting to get registration out of the way, some pop-up events around the county started as early as 9 a.m. and end at 3 this afternoon. Meanwhile, we're getting a look at new poll numbers in the race for governor, and it shows Republican Sarah Huckabee Sanders with a commanding lead over her Democratic opponent, Chris Jones. The latest poll from Talk Business and Politics and Hendrix College surveyed more than 800 Arkansas voters. It found 51% say they'd vote for Sanders and 40% said they'd choose Jones. Around 2% prefer Libertarian Ricky Harrington Jr. and 7% say they're still undecided. But a new poll tweeted out by the Sanders campaign shows the Republican with a 25-point lead. The poll by Remington Research Group has Sanders at 59%. We told you yesterday she remains off the campaign trail while recovering at home from thyroid cancer surgery. The special master appointed to review the documents taken from former President Donald Trump's Florida home is having a hearing in New York today. Serena Marshall has more details from the White House.
Supporters stood outside former President Trump's Florida residence to welcome him home on Monday.
He loves us. He gets depressed when we're not here.
It's the first time he's been back to Mar-a-Lago since the FBI seized documents on August 8th while carrying out a search warrant. Lawyers for the government and Mr. Trump will be in federal court in Brooklyn this afternoon for a hearing with the newly appointed special master in the case. Judge Raymond Deary has laid out a draft timeline for his review of the material that was seized. He's set an October 7th deadline to sift through and label all of the documents. Trump's lawyers say the judge asked them to disclose specific information regarding declassification to the court and to the government.
The former president maintains that he declassified all of the documents he took with him when he left the White House, though his lawyers have not made that claim in court.
And in a court filing late last night, Trump's lawyers suggested they may decline Judge Deary's request, arguing doing so could harm their defense if Trump is indicted. The Department of Justice is conducting a criminal probe looking into mishandling of classified documents and the possible hiding or destroying of government records. Serena Marshall, CBS News, the White House.
Now to the latest on dozens of migrants flown to Martha's Vineyard and questions on how they got there. A sheriff in Texas has opened a criminal investigation into how they were lured onto planes, allegedly under false pretenses. Meanwhile, there is a serious situation unfolding along the southern border. Manuel Bojorquez is in the border city of El Paso, Texas.
For many migrants seeking asylum in the U.S., this is their first stop. A Greyhound bus station in El Paso, Texas. The U.S. Border Patrol says more than 1,000 migrants are crossing this area each day. Many are being released here. That's where volunteer Juliana Esparza Loya pulls in with her minivan loaded with supplies.
Cuidado con tus pies, mamita.
She sets up her table and starts handing out essentials like backpacks, shoes, and clothes.
Ese es chico para mujer.
For children and adults who often arrive with only the clothes on their backs. She told us she grew up in El Paso with very little, and she identifies with the migrant struggles. For her, this issue has little to do with politics.
You vote for Republican or Democrat, it's still not changing. The problem is still here. How could people live out here for 4 or 5 days? They had to rely on good-hearted people to come and give their 3-month-old a blanket and a tent, and it shouldn't be that way.
Now, the city of El Paso has set up this migrant welcome center, where they provide Wi-Fi to contact their sponsor families, food, shelter, and most importantly, transportation to their next stop.
You're getting an average of 400 people a day?
Yes, sir. Right.
That's a lot.
That's going to be increasing shortly.
So you don't see this slowing down at this point?
At this point, we're just managing the numbers that they come in.
The asylum seekers here are mostly from Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, countries with no diplomatic ties to the U.S. and therefore no quick way to deport them. Marielba Atencio and her 3-year-old son are trying to get to relatives in New York after fleeing what she describes as life or death situations in Venezuela.
¿Fue cosa de vida y muerte para ustedes? It's a life and death thing? Because you could get sick and there's no medicine. Se enferma uno.
Some here see the next step of their voyage laid out for the first time.
And you're looking how far it is to get to New York. Quiere ir a Nueva York. El Paso has sent nearly 60 buses with migrants north, but the city says it is closely coordinating that with local leaders and charitable organizations at those destinations to ensure they are ready to receive those migrants, unlike some GOP governors who are accused of sending migrants with little to no warning at all. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, El Paso.
Some great news for one Arkansas hospital. The Ouachita County Medical Center in Camden is getting a $6 million lifeline from the Arkansas Legislative Council to avoid major cuts. We've been reporting on the financial challenges facing many smaller Arkansas hospitals. The Camden Hospital already had to close a rural health clinic that operated for 25 years. Hospital CEO Peggy says that this is great to give them a safety net.
What would be 3 months of our payroll expenses, and that includes contract labor such as emergency room physicians, all the contract labor.
Other hospitals in the state are still waiting for financial help. The Hospital Association chief says to his knowledge, there are no Arkansas hospitals in jeopardy of closing before they can speak to lawmakers. The Public Health Committee meets again October 3rd. Well, Starbucks is ending COVID-19 sick pay for workers beginning on October 2nd as the pandemic approaches the 3-year mark. The coffee chain said it's shifting into the endemic phase. That means workers at Starbucks' almost 9,000 locations will no longer have benefits, providing extra time off if they contract the coronavirus. The COVID-19 program started in 2020 with the retailer telling employees that they could receive up to 2 weeks of catastrophe pay if they were diagnosed with the illness or were exposed to it and needed to self-isolate. Travel boomed over the summer, and that demand led to major problems. After the break, we'll show you what to expect for your fall holidays. Nathan?
And fall officially arrives here Thursday evening, but we're talking about skyrocketing temperatures today, also Wednesday, and then a cold front arrives on Thursday. This is one front out of 2 I'm watching as we go into the next 7 days. I'll let you know how cool it's going to get behind these fronts coming up.